Organ trafficking is growing across Africa. The sophisticated operation is worth over $1 billion annually and targets the vulnerable. A report by Global Financial Integrity, a Washington, D.C.-based think tank focused on corruption, illicit trade, and money laundering, estimated that between $840 million and $1.7 billion is generated annually from trafficking in persons for organ removal. The sale of human organs is illegal across Africa. However, though details about the illicit world of human organ trafficking are unclear, it is believed that Egypt, Libya, South Africa, Kenya, and Nigeria are the most affected countries in Africa. Now, to discuss this, we're joined by William Els, Senior Training Coordinator at the Institute for Security Studies. Thank you so much, Mr. Els, for joining us.
Good afternoon to you.
How would you describe the scale of human trafficking in Africa? We're looking at billions of dollars going down into this illicit trade. What would you say are the factors responsible?
Okay, yeah, as you mentioned, we can actually refer to it as that it reached epidemic proportions in Africa. You also mentioned some of the countries where this is very prevalent, and the main reasons for this is actually that there's a tremendous demand for donated organs or organs to be transplanted. We see then about 10% of the required operations per year is taking place. So there's a huge demand, and the supply is not what it's supposed to be, and that leads these people to actually start with the trafficking. The normal procedures are that you put in your testament, for instance, or you register as a organ donor. That the moment you die, that we give a permission that your organs may be harvested and used for transplants. But that is clearly not satisfying the demand, and that is why they started to target the poor and the vulnerable in Africa, offer them money, and then they are selling these organs at tremendous profits.
Now, we know that there are syndicates who actually perpetrate this and facilitate this process, but it seems as though we've not really had, stories or operations around apprehending these people. That seems to be a challenge. Why is that?
I think your first challenge is a lack of regulations, and also a lack of the enforcement of the existing regulations that are there in order to address the situation. A recent research by one of my colleagues, Dr. Willis Ukumu in Kenya, also actually highlighted this challenge, and also looking at the challenges that it's not only that these beneficiaries of these transnational organized crime syndicates that are operating are only benefiting Africa, but it seems that a lot of these is also going outside of Africa in your intercontinental trafficking.
So what would you describe as effective strategies or method to actually, deal with issues like this, and have it been stemmed?
Well, in the first place, I mentioned the lack of regulations. We have to look at our legislation. We have to look at our regulations. But I think where we should start is we have to curb corruption, because corruption within our establishments, within our law enforcement fraternities, et cetera, within our hospitals and healthcare facilities, they are actually facilitating these transnational organized crime syndicates to thrive, making a lot of money. And I think if we can start with that and effectively then getting rid of the corrupt syndicates within and that have infiltrated our establishments, that is where we should start. And then we should start with the effective implementation and also administration of the legislation that is put in place.
Yeah, so as a trainer, in security studies, do you think that technology can play a vital role here in identifying these criminals and having them apprehended?
Technology can be your enemy, it could be your friend. And if you look at the new Minister of Police in South Africa, as part of his strategic plan, he actually highlights the implementation and the use and actually the exploitation of technology in order to combat and to investigate crime. So all over the world, that is a new trend where law enforcement is starting to use a technology in order to benefit their investigations, because we know that the criminal syndicates are already using technology, and we need to get one step ahead from a law enforcement perspective.
That's about using technology to combat technology. William Els, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
You're welcome.